of mind, or steps to ensure a warm home throughout the season. Bryant also offers free second opinion heat exchange checks. Before you spend thousands on a new furnace, let Bryant check it free. Anytime you need furnace service or repair, just call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
If you become ill or injured at work and need an experienced attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court, protect your rights and freedom to get you the best possible results for your case and the justice you deserve. Trust your rights and freedom to Liberty Law Group. Attorneys serving Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program by building a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting lincolnteammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Mike, the insurance company wants us to replace the roof.
Wait, what? I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, it says right here our roof is too old and they won't be able to cover us anymore.
I guess it is 15 years old. Hi, I'm Austin with Roofing Service Company. We help homeowners with their roofing and siding projects. Financing options are available, and we can get you under a new roof no time at all. If this sounds like you, visit roofingservicecompany.com. That is roofingservicecompany.com.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if retirement savings will last? Markets' ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Hi, I'm Edward Jones, advisor Ryan Buck. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, let's work together to help you ensure you're prepared for the journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek. It's a new beginning. Stop by our office at 8380 Old Cheney Road, Lincoln, Nebraska. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
I'm Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite. So the Nebraska Lottery has asked me to talk about the Cash Blast promotion. Until March 24th, buy a 2x2 ticket and get a voucher. Enter online for a chance to win a $5,000 or $500 weekly prize. If you're winning vouchers from a 7-day draw ticket, your prize is doubled. So when can I explode the dynamite?
No dynamite in the studio, Dr. Nobel.
How about a cherry bomb?
No.
Sparkler?
Sorry.
2x2 top prize odds are 1 in 105,000.
Are you looking for a fresh new hangout spot? Let me tell you about Liquid Assets Sports Bar, where Mondays mean new weekly drink and food features. With 23 taps, a full lineup of cans and bottles, and 40 TVs blasting every sports package out there, you'll never worry about missing a play. Savor high-end spirits at their stylish top-shelf bar, enjoy a healthy menu, family-friendly atmosphere, and catch all of your favorite teams every day. Doors open daily at 11 a.m. Liquid Assets Sports Bar, located at 2755 Jamie Lane in South Lincoln.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome in to the Husker Women's Basketball Postgame Show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome in. Husker Group's Postgame Show, Women's Basketball Edition. Before the men's. 2 hours, you're locked in here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Nebraska women's basketball wrapping up regular season play on Senior Day with a 93-52 win over the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. A dominating performance for Nebraska after a 6-game skid, picks up a win in Washington, comes back home to cap off the regular season with an 18-11 record, 7-11 in Big Ten play, and turn their attention to the postseason with the Big Ten tournament starting in just a couple of days, under a week. Nick Wyman here in the studio alongside Austin Orman here for the next 2 hours. We will be doing the women's postgame for the next 50 minutes, hour plus until the men's game, the final buzzer sounds. Then we will switch over to that game. So if you like basketball or sports in general, this is the place. This is always the place to be, right, Austin?
Oh, always. You said locked in, and I think obviously you want to be, here with us, but just don't get locked in like a crazy asylum or anything, right? I mean, 2 hours of hoops. It's the same two of us. Break it up, right? Join us. 402-464-5685. We'll take your thoughts, as always.
Yeah, and give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Union Bank and Trust. Get a great rate at $6.12.24 a month with Union Bank and Trust. Learn more at ubt.com. Well, Austin, as we start this 2 hours together right here at 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. You're watching on Facebook, X, YouTube, or Allo Channel 961. Love to hear from you. As Austin said, 402-464-5685. So Nebraska women getting back in the win column. This is a team that was kind of soul-searching for a win throughout the last couple of weeks. Finally found that in the Pacific Northwest with a Britt Prince with a shot from the top of the key to get Nebraska back in the win column. Return home, play a team that is very streaky. They haven't won a game in over a month. Beat Rutgers, who now are 9-20, 1-17 in Big Ten play in the bunker. Nebraska with a 93-52 win over the Scarlets. I mean, on senior day, festivities, whatnot, the season has kind of, it's peaked, and then there's valleys in your season. And Nebraska has been able to kind of weather the storm at the end of the season. Has it been perfect? No.
Far from it.
No. But they've been able to end on a high note in some shape or form before next week. We'll get into that later, how next week goes in, because next week will be not only big for teams like Nebraska, but other teams who are kind of on the bubble, because Nebraska entry today was around 11 seed, maybe a first four team having to play a team like Princeton, depending on which bracketology you look at or whatnot. There's so many different ones, but this is a team that just needed a win, and to avoid a game like this where you fall into a loss, then you really need to do something in conference play.
Yeah, in conference tournament, more specifically, where everyone, should have that same sort of desperate feeling. A game like this against Rutgers wasn't going to help Nebraska in the slightest, right? Not from a resume standpoint, nothing like that. This was just a good old-fashioned, there's a reason we scheduled on homecoming sort of game. And, it's not really in Nebraska's hands. It's not really up to Nebraska, but they took advantage of it. I think there's value both ways, right? You send your seniors, the three of them that you honor if you're Nebraska today, off with a big win. Hopefully lots of laughs and good memories from this one. The men will do it against Iowa. It should be a pretty emotionally charged building for that senior day. Shout out, to those seniors, right? Think about what Callan Hake has meant to this program. She scores 8 points today, also pulls down 2 rebounds and 2 assists, knocks down a couple of 3-pointers. Pretty quintessential Callan Hake performance, right? Was never the superstar, was never really the face of the team in any on-court way. But Callan Hake has been, incredibly well-respected, not just in that locker room, but really in that athletic department with all the leadership stuff that she's involved in. Absolutely has a bright future for whatever it holds for her. She was one of Nebraska's reps at Big Ten Media Days, and for good reason. And then you add in a couple of transfers that also get honored today. Nick, you look at Eliza Maupin and then Haley Weaver as well, the two players that just joined Nebraska for this season. If you look at what those two have done in their Nebraska careers, of course, Maupin, incredibly athletic, has been the spearhead of that defense, 8 points, 4 rebounds for Nebraska in her minutes. Then Haley Weaver has kind of been that defensive tone setter as well, only averaging about 3 points and 2 rebounds per game. So maybe the counting stats aren't there, but, Maupin played in 24 games and got 10 starts. Haley Weaver has appeared in, 27 games entering today, averaging, about 30 minutes between the two of them. They kind of fit the tone and the culture that Amy Williams was looking for. When you think about some of the players that Nebraska has lost over the last couple of years, one of my questions for her was, you lose Kendall Coley and Kendall Moriarty. Who's going to be the tone setter defensively, right? Obviously, with Alexis Markowski gone as well. But in terms of perimeter defense, I think Maupin and Weaver have done a pretty darn good job for Nebraska. They filled their role in that way. And not to say Britt Prince has been bad defensively at all. I mean, she's averaging 1.5 steals per game. Nebraska has some pretty stout post defenders as well. But, stopping dynamic lead guards is always a challenge. I think Maupin's been up for it. Weaver has certainly given it a go as well. Kind of setting the tone for someone like Kennedy Williams, right? Coach's daughter, who, is now, still in the end of basketball season, looking maybe a little bit ahead to softball season. But the value of a Callan Hake as a senior leader to mentor Britt Prince through whatever, she's going through. Any, freshman issues last year, sophomore slump that didn't really seem to hit for Britt Prince. You bring in, upperclassmen transfers that fit into exactly what you need in terms of setting the tone on the defensive side of the ball. A really solid senior class. Maybe not the overall record, certainly a 6-game losing streak at the end of the year, not what they were going for, but you shout out those players for their contributions. Even within just 1 year for Maupin and Weaver and for Callan Hake, maybe not all over the Nebraska record books, but certainly someone that I think has left her imprint on this program.
100%. You talk about Britt Prince being a freshman stepping in. You need that kind of leadership, and that's what Hake did. And, it may not show up in the box score, as you said, but it will show up in due time, depending on what happens with Nebraska the rest of the way. Amaya Hargrove led the Cornhuskers in double figures with 18 points, 7 of 9 shooting in this one. You talked about establishing tone. Nebraska really did that today. I think that was kind of what everybody kind of wanted to see. You're playing a team that is kind of, is the bottom of the big barrel of the Big Ten right now. Nebraska, left no doubt, building up a 17-point advantage at halftime. And then the third quarter, Nebraska, with this Nebraska team, there's always been one quarter that kind of gets away from them. They'll play, you look at the losses, like 11 losses. I'd say over half of them are against teams who are top 25 or superior teams. We go down the list. There's UCLA.
Yeah, let me pull it up here. So
there's
Nebraska's losses this year hosting number 17 USC, at number 14 Iowa.
Back-to-back.
And back-to-back games right over the new year as well. That was the 29th of December and the 1st of January. Then you host number 4 UCLA. You lose that one. Go to number 15 Michigan State. Really the only head-scratcher was probably the road loss to Wisconsin, a 3-point loss there. But then at number 11 Ohio State, at number 8 Michigan, host number 22 Maryland to make that one interesting for at least a minute. Go on the road, have a little bit of a comeback before you run out of gas on the road at Minnesota, then Iowa and Oregon, who obviously Iowa's in the top 25 and Oregon has been solid, right? A little ahead of Nebraska, if memory serves. So then to be able to go on the road to a pretty decent Washington team, find a way to snap that skid. Nick, I know we'll talk big picture here coming up, but again, I think that speaks to some of that senior leadership as well, that maybe that just is who Nebraska is, right? They're good enough to beat teams that are at their level or below. Maybe Nebraska is missing something with those upper level teams in a sport like women's college basketball. There were a couple times games got away from Nebraska, but there were other games, like Oregon, that Nebraska held elite. Iowa was certainly attainable early on before that one snowballed. You look at the Minnesota one, even Maryland and Michigan had its moments where you're like, okay, is this the run that can get Nebraska back into this one? Didn't quite happen. Coulda, woulda, shoulda won on the road at Michigan State in the Breslin Center, a place that's tough to opponents, regardless if it's men or women's basketball. But, for this team, I think that, you see the losses pile up. Sometimes that's hard to deal with, which is where, Britt Prince being a, pretty steady presence goes a long way. Callan Hake's energy and enthusiasm, and, the fact she's kind of been through these trials and tribulations before go a long way. To be able to come through that stretch, and seeing the losses pile up the way they did, obviously frustrating always would be. But I think that this team can head into postseason play with some confidence that, okay, we've been through the fire. Now we know what it takes. Can Nebraska reach that gear? Remains to be seen. They really haven't gotten there yet this year. But that's where I go to the 3 magic words. When you get to late February, early March, why not us? Why can't this be the team that makes a run? That certainly seems like there are enough pieces in place. Nebraska gets off to a 12-0 start to begin the year. The winning identity is in there somewhere. Can Nebraska tease it out here when the stakes are the highest for this program?
And before we get into this conversation, we talked about how they played with these teams. Michigan State came down to the final buzzer. Wisconsin's probably the worst loss in conference play. But they've had leads in these games, but there's just been one quarter that kind of skips away.
Yeah.
Today, third quarter comes around, they win at 30-12, and they win the turnover battle in total 22-5. They left no doubt, and that I think is a good sign. Obviously, are you the superior team in this matchup? More than likely, yes. Yes, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. But to just handle it and not let that creep in, because obviously you go on a losing skid, and some of those games come down to the final buzzer. You finally got that monkey off your shoulder in the Pacific Northwest. And now you turn the page, 18-11, still sitting in that bubble range more than likely, but you kind of got that monkey off your back. And now you know what it's like to lose. You know what it's like. It sucks to lose. Always in every sport. But now you have that, you hate that feeling. Now you have that driven feeling to not live that down. And now you're going to be going to conference play. You're obviously going to have to dig yourself kind of out of a hole. But we've seen time and time again where teams will make a run because they got fresh legs. They're playing the right ball at the right time. Scoring 93 points regardless against any opponent, that's pretty impressive in college basketball, regardless of who you're playing.
It is. And I know we'll save some of the big picture stuff. You look at the women's basketball conference tournament and then the NCAA tournament for the next couple segments here. But you mentioned kind of that quarter that gets away. You can make an argument that Nebraska's worst quarter today was the first quarter. They win it by 8, and you can say that's your worst quarter. It's absolutely your night. But Rutgers shoots 6 for 11 in that frame. They also out-rebound Nebraska. Now, Nebraska did force 10 turnovers to just turning it over once themselves, but they weren't able to capitalize nearly as much off those 10 turnovers, maybe as they were the 12 the rest of the game. But, then you go to the fourth quarter, maybe the other argument for Nebraska's worst quarter of the day. And of course, this is all tongue in cheek, but even in there, you have, 5 different players score a basket in some form or fashion. You shoot better, you clean up the glass, you win the fourth quarter that way. You turn it over just as many times as few times. You also, assist on 6 of your 8 made baskets there in the fourth. And that's one of those things that I think will mystify me for a while about this Nebraska women's basketball team, is how it can all go sideways so quickly and for so long, right? We get that basketball is a game of runs. It's punching, it's counter punching, it's, digging holes and then digging out of holes. That's just the nature of the game. I would love to know what Coach Amy Williams thinks about what it is about that quarter, because it's not always the same one, right? If it was always the third quarter, okay, Nebraska just comes out flat, right? Does Nebraska do too much coaching or not enough coaching in the halftime locker room? If it's the second quarter, okay, well, is that Nebraska's depth, right? The starters, when they get their rest in the second quarter heading into halftime, is that when the bench gives it up? Or, are the starters playing too much in the first quarter to where the bench has to come in the second quarter? The fourth quarter, they don't have the it factor, the clutch gene, whatever it is you want to call it. You can't point to any specific quarter and say, this is without a doubt the bugaboo. If you can just survive this quarter, you'll be fine, because it's popped up at different times and in different ways, which is where I think the emergence, like you led the show with, of someone like Amaya Hargrove, what she's able to do on the offensive end for Nebraska. You think about some of the better teams that Nebraska's had, especially recently, it was Shelley and Markowski. You had a little bit of a two-man game that you could go to from time to time. If one of them was on, okay, we can ride that for a while, ride the heater. It'll be great. Okay, they've adjusted. Let's throw it down to the post. Let's kick it out to the perimeter. I still think there's times where Nebraska has contributions, obviously. I mean, 18 from Hargrove, 12 from Petra Bojan, 16 from Jess Petrie, right? It tells me that Nebraska had really good size, was able to throw it inside and be consistent in the post there. But it seems like sometimes those players will pop up for a week at a time instead of a month at a time, right? I still wouldn't be able to answer who Nebraska's true second banana is behind someone like Britt Prince, who struggled from the field today. Other players were there to pick her up and make her shooting struggles not really matter. But I think that's going to be important for Nebraska with so much of this core coming back. Who can take that next step to be that second offensive option next to Britt Prince, whether it's in the front court or the back court? I think that'll help quell some of those kind of disastrous quarters that plague this team that's been pretty solid across the board otherwise.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned there's injuries like Natalie Potts. Obviously, missing her all year is quite a handicap to begin with. But Amaya Hargrove's a resurgence. Last year, obviously they had more players on the team, and more opportunity opens up as you stay with the program. First year, only started 2 games, 33 games played, averaged almost 5 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
This year, came off the bench to start, was kind of 6-7 on the bench, 27 games played, just broken the starting lineup a couple weeks ago, 8 career starts this year, almost 13 points per game. That production has gone up and up and up, and you can see that with her. She's basically kind of taken that number 2 spot. I mean, at times, is there games where she's not scoring the second leading scorer? Yes, but she's probably the number 2. And to have that kind of resurgence from one year to another, it's kind of like with the guys team you see. There's guys who have made jumps after 1-2 years, sitting on, earning their stripes. And now you've heard, only 10 extra minutes this year, 23.5 to 13.5 a year ago. And the production's gone up across the board. Not only in points, but you look at everything else, rebounds, assists, and whatnot. So to have her playing at this kind of level, starting, because a deserved starter now, is quite the thing to see heading into postseason play.
That was a player that I was waiting to see crack the starting lineup to begin the year. She didn't do it. I was really impressed with especially how Amaya Hargrove finished the year last year, to your point. And that's where I thought she was maybe not a no doubt starter, but I thought she had enough offensive talent to be the right mix, alongside Britt Prince for Nebraska. like you said, she didn't start the year in the starting lineup. And I was a little surprised by that. I know she got her minutes. She was in the rotation, but she wasn't a feature piece like she's become a little bit more down the stretch here. I think with her ability to play inside and out, that obviously goes a long way for Nebraska, who still doesn't shoot a bunch of threes, right? And I'm not saying Nebraska has to. I mean, we've seen Amy Williams build this team up through the front court in a lot of different ways. And you have, Bojan and Petrie starting in the front line. You have Potts and Hargrove. That's a lot of different mouths to feed, especially when all those players are best from the mid-range and in. Nebraska shoots 10 to 28 from three today. That's, I assume, pretty high up the list of most threes this Nebraska women's basketball team has taken in a game. If they can get those contributions up and down the lineup, if they can have one or two of those post players begin to stretch the floor, not just, from the elbow, but all the way out to the wing and the top of the key and pick and pop, that's where I think Amaya Hargrove's role can be. You don't need her taking, 4 or 5 threes every game, but enough to threaten the defense, enough to stretch it, because I think there's a burgeoning handle there as well that once teams start closing out to her, I'd like to think that she can put it on the deck and make a play for someone else as well.
I also think defensively, this team has gotten a lot better. They've been in a lot of grinded out kind of games, been in those moments. A Washington game came down to the final buzzer. And this game, Nebraska wins a turnover battle 22-5. I mean, Rutgers obviously is the team you want to play at this point in the season and just get a win and get out of there on senior day. But they held them to, they shot worse than them from the floor, 40%, 33% from three, 19 of 47 from the field. Free throws, they were only at 64%. So you won in every facet. You won the rebounding battle. You won the turnover battle. You just dominated from start to finish. And I think that is what this team needed as the calendar flips.
Well, and that's the other thing I'll add here as well is the turnovers. I have been just mystified by the amount of turnovers that this Nebraska team has created. Again, I don't necessarily have the exact numbers offhand, but I've looked up the box scores from time to time. I'm like, what?
Yes.
17 turnovers? And that's not really out of the ordinary for this team. I'm trying to pull up the team-wide stats. Yeah, on the year, Nebraska's averaging, only 14.2 turnovers per game, and they're forcing 18.5. That was going into today. But there are games, especially against some of the better competition on the schedule, which, sure, maybe it makes sense that you're turning it over more against the best teams. But Nebraska, turning it over 20-some times in a game, great that you force 30 or whatever you forced today and score 32 points off of them. That goes a long way. 22 turnovers turned into 32 points off turnovers. That is elite efficiency. 32 points off of 22 takeaways is absolutely massive. But that's the other part of it. If Britt Prince is the only one that can handle the ball, teams can wear her down throughout the course of the game. Or, plain and simple, if someone else can't just dribble the ball up the court to give Britt Prince that little bit of a break to not be hounded, 90 plus feet, that goes a long way. But who's kind of the second point guard on this roster? Nisley's off ball. Hake has done it, but I don't think she's necessarily a true point. Haley Weaver could have been that, but like we mentioned, she only played about 10 minutes per game. Claire Johnson was in and out of the rotation, some spot minutes at times. Kennedy Williams, maybe, but still a young player, really getting her first extended playing time. Finding a second ball handler, I think, would go a long way to where you can move Britt Prince off the ball sometimes, save some miles on those legs. And plain and simple, if you're in college basketball, you should be able to protect the basketball. I get it. Turnovers will happen to everyone, but you got to prevent the repeatable mistakes, the repeated mistakes, I should say. It seems like Nebraska's secondary ball handlers, when they've been forced to make plays for others, haven't necessarily done that. And then you can put some of that on the post as well. I mean, you look at Bojan with an assist today. Hargrove had 2 assists, and Jess Petrie had an assist. You don't need, Rink Mass level big man passing or Derek Walker level big man passing, but you also need your post to not be black holes, right? Not just shoot it all the time and not panic. Get the first sign of a double team, throw it into hands. I think Nebraska has that ability, but it's come and gone maybe a little bit more than you would expect, and that could explain some of the consistency issues.
Yeah, and if you don't have that, I mean, like you said, in basketball, all 5 positions got to be able to protect the ball. It's just how it is nowadays. And with a team like that, I mean, you just kind of get out of there with a win and you take what you can and you get in the postseason play. So before we get a break, just put a little wrap on this one. I mean, just to get a win, the seniors, I think, is the big thing because the season as a whole was, started out hot, 12-0. You get those wins. You go a neutral site in Florida. You get those wins against a team like Virginia, which is a really good win. They beat Louisville last weekend. the seniors, to the foundation, let's say you don't have the senior leadership of that and you go on a 6-game skid. You don't really have anybody kind of lean on in that because and then in sports, when you're losing so much, you don't really, it's kind of out of your control because these losses, some of them are you're just playing teams like UCLA who are, before that, playing a team that's probably going to be favorites in a lot of people's brackets. You're playing a team like Iowa. You play them on a rare Monday day game on President's Day. Then you play a team like Oregon where you have a double-digit lead with about 6 minutes to go, and then it just rapidly disappears like that. The seniors, lay the foundation for everything, not only from the season starting, but also just throughout the season. You lean on those people, regardless if they're the leading scorer or the leading rebounder or a team captain. They are the ones to lay the foundation and give you and somebody you can go to. Like, obviously, Britt Prince, are there mistakes when you're a freshman? Yes. But she has a plethora of leaders to go to. And I think that's what helps this Nebraska team through that 6-game skid. And now was it all pretty? No. They 6-game skid stinks, but you get the win in Washington. You survive that one in advance, and then you beat Rutgers and get some momentum going into postseason play because it's important now. Because imagine if Nebraska somehow, let's say the ball doesn't fall, that Britt Prince jumper doesn't fall, and you end up with a 7-game skid, and then you beat Rutgers. Doesn't have the same feel to it, doesn't it, Austin?
No, it absolutely doesn't. And I just got the post-game email from SID and color commentator Jeff Greesh, who said that 10 of Nebraska's 11 losses on the year came to teams that are currently ranked in the top 25 of the net, which I know we'll get to here in just a second. We don't have the bracket quite yet. Nebraska is most likely in the 12-13 game to begin with, and we can talk about what the path will look like for Nebraska coming up next. But as we lead into that Big Ten tournament discussion, Nick, I think sometimes the end of the regular season, those couple days off before you, well, not off, right, but just not playing, before you hit the road to go to wherever the Big Ten tournament is that given year, which this year, of course, will be in Indianapolis. Sometimes it's those couple days off that are that reset. Okay, it's a brand new season. Okay, we know we have no other choice but to lay it all on the line to go be an NCAA tournament team. I don't think Nebraska is quite in that range right now, but maybe it's the mental reset they need. The other side of that is winning 2 games in a row to end the regular season. Jay Foreman will talk about it all the time on Old School, is sometimes you just need that winning feeling. Finding a way after I don't know if collapse is the right word, but kind of felt like a little bit of a collapse. There's certainly a letdown on the road at Oregon for what could have been a marquee victory. To have the mental toughness to stay out there on that road trip, win a road game at a still solid Washington team, and then to come back home and dominate a team in Rutgers the way that Nebraska was supposed to, that can go a long way for a team, right? Just to see the ball go in the hoop, just to, have the good vibes be flowing. It doesn't make the road ahead any easier or any simpler, but the better attitude you can have, the better approach, and the more recent success that you've had. I'm not going to say Nebraska's playing its best basketball of the year, but certainly winning its final 2 games of the regular season feels like it could be a springboard for this team to, let the chips fall where they may in Indy.
Yep, 18-11 on season, coming off a big win over Rutgers today. We'll look at the Big Ten tournament, kind of like a little what's going to fall into place. Looks like Nebraska's going to be in that 12-13 range. What time and what place they may be playing. It's going to sneak up Wednesday. You got to think Wednesday, the girls state basketball tournament as well here in the state of Nebraska. So if you're low, it's March. It's March, Austin. It's officially March. So
that's true.
We'll be right back here on 93.7 Ticket, ticketfm.com. Husker Hoops postgame update. Nebraska men leading 43-39 over USC. We'll be right back.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
If you're a homeowner or a business owner, you have a lot of projects, and no one has an unlimited budget or time. Sunbelt Rentals makes all jobs less stressful with no need to purchase large equipment or hire a crew. You can do it yourself with rentals and everything from aerators and power rakes for spring yard work to stump grinders, concrete mixers, tile saws, and more. Check out their inventory in Lincoln, north of Cornhusker Highway on 56th Street, or online at sunbeltrentals.com.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
At DWE Generations, having a plan matters, especially when it comes to protecting what's most important. They work with individuals, families, and business owners to help make smart financial decisions that support life today and set the foundation for generations. David Darlington, Russell Walton, and Cody Eiler bring decades of experience, and their dedicated team provides follow-through, answering questions, explaining next steps, and staying connected as life evolves. DWE Generations, a generational wealth planning firm. DWE Generations is a marketing name for individuals doing business as representatives of Northwestern Mutual. Visit generations.nm.com or call 402-483-7871 and ask for David, Russell, or Cody. Gentlemen, are you ready for something beyond the ordinary haircut? At Scissors and Scotch Lincoln, they blend your old school barber feel with your favorite watering hole. Sink into a comfy chair, unwind with a complimentary drink, and let their master barbers handle the rest. It's not just grooming, it's an experience. Whether you're prepping for a big meeting, needing to get cleaned up before family comes to town, or just need a little time to yourself, Scissors and Scotch Lincoln delivers sharp style every time. Book now at Scissors and Scotch in Lincoln, just south of 30th and Yankee Hill Road.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas, and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
Are you tired of living in pain? At Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, they make it simple. From head to toe, spine to extremities, they've got you covered. Their multi-specialty team of experts in orthopedic surgery, plastic surgery, podiatry, physical therapy, and occupational therapy all work under one roof to get you back to living life pain-free. Don't wait another day. Visit prairie-ortho.com today or call them at 402-489-4700. Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, where healing begins.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Well, who's your guy?
Graham Tire. They have pickup and delivery service at all 5 of their Lincoln locations.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
At Doane University, we build leaders, and that means your success and achievements come first. Now is the time to get a glimpse into living and learning at Doane University through a personalized in-person or virtual visit. We know once you experience Doane, you'll see why it's a place where you can achieve your goals and shape your future. Schedule your personal campus visit today at doane.edu/visit.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Now back to the Husker women's basketball postgame show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome back. Women's basketball postgame show. Nebraska picking up a win over Rutgers a little over an hour ago over at Pinnacle Bank Arena. But a little update, the men are up by 3, 43-40 with 15:51 to go in regulation. Reminder, after we're done talking women's basketball here, Austin and me aren't going anywhere. We're still here. And if 1040 O Street, if you want to come down and give us a little college game day atmosphere or whatnot on a Saturday, we're still here. We'll be here for the men's basketball postgame right after the final buzzer sounds, as always. But we'll give a shout out to one of our sponsors, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, proudly serving the Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas. John Henry's can assist you with any service like electrical, maintenance, installation, or repair. Call today at 402-809-1159 or go to jhlincoln.com. Well, the regular season's in the past, Austin, for Nebraska women's basketball as they wrap up regular season play with a 2-game winning streak after putting an end to a 6-game skid with some heartbreaking losses. But now March is here, as some would say, as March will be coming knocking next week as the Big Ten women's basketball tournament takes center stage at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, starting on Wednesday, March 4th, and wrapping up on Sunday, March 8th. All games will be held there. Championship game will be played on Sunday. Nebraska will have to run the gauntlet, essentially. Finish with a losing record in conference play. That's what's going to happen when you're, losing some close ones, finish 7-11.
Unless they win 5 in a row.
It has happened before. That's running the gauntlet, though. 7-11 in Big Ten play. Nebraska bracket is not officially out yet due to some games finishing up today/tomorrow mainly. But right now, Nebraska looking like they're going to play in that number 12 seed versus 13 seed day 1, round 1 game, which will more than likely start around 2:30 is what it looks like. That is not confirmed yet, but that is what the bracket looking like it's going to feel out with. We'll see who Nebraska plays. It's maybe looking like an Indiana, but stick with us here on 93 points of the ticket. We'll have the full bracket for you, or check Husker social media. You'll see game times and location to find that as well.
Let me just throw this out.
Go for it.
At least Nebraska's not in a spot where it has to run the entire gauntlet, right? We were looking at some of the big picture bracketology, and we'll get to that probably in the final segment here as we continue. But as you look at the Big Ten, there's going to be opportunities for Nebraska to pick up some quality wins. Obviously not in the first game against whoever it is with them in the 12 or 13 matchup, most likely, even if it's 11-14 or probably not 10-15, but if it's still on the table, that's not going to be a quality win. What's more important at that point is don't lose.
Yes.
Just kind of like Rutgers, if you're Nebraska, you can only hurt yourself. You can't really help yourself in the first opportunity of the weekend. But then as soon as you get into that next game, find a way to win, survive in advance, right? Those are the 3 magic words in March. Outside of, why not us, it's survive in advance. Take your shot against the 5 seed. Again, I don't think that outside of, like a UCLA, Nebraska, shouldn't be scared of anyone, right? Nebraska can get to some of its advantages. And if Nebraska is able to pull an upset in that second game, right? If the 5 seed is maybe a little rusty instead of rested, then there's a quality win. Maybe not a seed line moving win, but at least solidify Nebraska's spot in the field. And then, okay, if you're in the let's say the 4-12 game, or maybe the 13 gets hot and knocks off the 4 seed, and I give me the 13, it would be what the 10 seed. I think it would be
the 10 seed,
10 or the 15.
Yep.
Hey, why not Nebraska, right? You're in that similar conversation with one of those teams as well. So it's going to take the bracket breaking right for Nebraska, I think, to go all the way and feel confident about their chances to do so. But as long as Nebraska wins the first game, the Huskers will have opportunity for, at least one quality win opportunity, if not more.
If you look at the Big Ten Conference as well, Nebraska obviously is in a situation where, don't lose is kind of the mantra in that first round. There's so many teams that are already kind of punched their ticket in. You have a team like UCLA, Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Minnesota, Michigan State, Maryland, Illinois, Washington, Oregon, and then Nebraska are kind of the Big Ten Conference is what it is. It's a giant conference now, but that's a lot of Big Ten teams there. And a lot of those teams I mentioned, Nebraska's hung with. And if you look at if the season ended right, if the bracket came out right now, Nebraska would play Minnesota in the second round. In Minnesota, Nebraska didn't play their best game up there. Did not at all. They fought back in the third quarter, which was their best quarter in that game.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of a...
But are you scared of Minnesota?
I mean, if Nebraska can put one game behind them and come out with a team that's, hey, if we win this game, we are officially can help our stock as well. Because Nebraska, we'll talk about in the last segment, of course, but, you'd rather be, it depends where you'd rather be. Would you rather have to play your way into the tournament in the first four, or would you rather be an 8-9 and already be part of the field of 64? And then if you look at the teams, there's still a lot to shake out tomorrow. Minnesota would be the team right now, but also there's a Michigan State hanging in there and Ohio State, which could switch up depending on results tomorrow. So you're not going to see an Iowa. You're not going to see a Michigan. You're not going to see a UCLA. So there is vulnerability because Nebraska hung with Ohio State for a bit. Minnesota obviously went down in the first half, made it a game in the second half, but came up too short. Minnesota ended the game on a run. And then Michigan State's a team that Nebraska hung with throughout the entire length of the game. So these teams are beatable. Nebraska has to put the full thing together.
Really interesting games going on tomorrow as it relates to who Nebraska could potentially play, because you have Ohio State, Michigan State. You look where those two teams are at in the Big Ten standings. Ohio State's at 12-5, Michigan State's at 11-6. Okay, those two could very easily flop depending on tiebreakers. You look at Minnesota and Illinois. Minnesota at 12-5, Illinois at 9-8. Okay, Minnesota drops to 12-6. Are they there with Ohio State with a loss and Michigan State with a win in that game? Or, if they're 13-5, do they retain, sole possession probably of that, or are they battling with Ohio State? You also look at, Iowa and Wisconsin. Iowa seems like they are pretty locked into where they're at, depending on head-to-head with Michigan, who won today. But Iowa needs to win tomorrow to keep pace with Michigan, potentially find its way into that number 2 spot instead of the number 3 spot. Not that there's a huge difference, because they'd end up facing each other in the semis if the bracket breaks the way it does. Washington, Oregon in the middle. Could those two flip-flop positions, or is this just a precursor to the game that we're absolutely going to see? And then, USC and UCLA. Can USC play spoiler in the final game of the regular season, right? UCLA has been absolutely automatic this year, 27-1. Obviously, USC down some pretty key pieces, maybe the most key piece in college basketball all year long, but still talented enough. Nebraska's seen both those teams up close and personal. Bracket absolutely far from settled. I do kind of like that Nebraska has a chance, though, Nick, to have handled its business here today, and to be able to sit and watch tomorrow, right? That's a chance for Nebraska, I think, to sit back and watch whatever games are going on and going down, so they can get maybe a little bit of a head start on who they think their opponent or a couple of opponents they could be playing could be.
It's also interesting because, you see a team like, if Nebraska wins that 12-13 game against Indiana or whoever it be, you play a team that's kind of already punched their ticket to the tournament. And you can be, you may want that game more, because a team we've seen in college basketball, or a team has to play their way in the first round, and then they play a 4 or 5 seed, and then that 4 and 5 seed's a little, slumps when they play in this neutral site game. And then, a team like, a 10+ seed can get a win there and sneak their way into the quarterfinals of a tournament, because a team like Minnesota or Michigan State or Ohio State, hey, we're already in the tournament. This game, we've seen it.
Who wants it more? Who does it mean more to? It's why the SEC always lost bowl games,
Yep, exactly. It's a tale of the oldest time, I guess, for the SEC conference. SEC conference somehow made it in this conversation, but that is what it is. But yes, a team comes in and they get cold and they lose, and then Nebraska can pick them off just because, hey, it matters how much. A conference tournament matters for everybody, but if you come in cold and fall down, and then you just don't take it as serious, I guess, in a way. But Nebraska can pick them off, and then, hey, you got a date with maybe like a UCLA or a Michigan in the quarterfinals. Then you're really talking, hey, maybe we can, Nebraska was in that 6, 7 range, 8 range. You can talk yourself back into that if you finish strong in the season. Who cares about a 6-game losing skid? That's in the regular season. You can get your way back by getting those wins back through conference play, and that's when you're playing your best at the end of the season is what they'll look at.
It's a piece of it, absolutely. I have always been aboard the train that says the conference tournament should only be used to improve your seeding. It shouldn't be what gets you into the tournament. And, maybe that's no fun of me to say, because I know we love Cinderellas, but I think that this can apply in a couple different ways, right? If you look at these, pretty traditional one-bid leagues, right? Let's say that this happens to Miami of Ohio, who, on the men's side stormed back and won despite a lot of adversity in Kalamazoo against Western Michigan yesterday. Are we really going to keep Miami of Ohio out of the field because they dropped a game in a conference tournament after proving they can beat everyone in the conference the rest of the year. That's asinine to me. The other thing that I think with regards to a power conference tournament, one of the big, 6, maybe 7, 8, depending on how far you want to stretch it out, is some of these teams, your traditional DePauls, who shout out DePaul sweeping Creighton, by the way, on the men's side.
Yeah, shout out DePaul.
Maybe like a Marquette this year, as bad as they've been, or, just go to like a Northwestern or a Penn State in the Big Ten. Do we really want to give an automatic berth to the NCAA tournament for that? Right? If they got hot, if they took advantage of it, maybe other teams would, rest. They wouldn't rest their starters. I'll get to that here in just a minute. But no. These teams proved over the course of 31 games, they don't have it. Sure, every team gets maybe relatively hot compared to the level they showed throughout the year at some point during the season. But I absolutely hate awarding the auto bid to the conference tournament champion. It's a, 3 to 5 game sample size instead of a 31 game sample size. And the obvious pushback is, well, how are conference tournaments going to matter? Well, what's the point of playing them? Because I think there's still value in them, because let's say that you're in the 8 or 9 seed game. Let's say that you're like Wake Forest, right, on the men's side, a pretty traditional bubble team. You haven't done enough in the regular season to lock yourself into the field, but you're still under consideration. You're just close enough that maybe 1 or 2 more wins could be the difference, what pushes you over the edge. Obviously, if you're a top-seeded team, you're in the field, you're still playing for seeding, which is why I think the ACC tournament does still matter for a team like Duke, right? Who locks up the 1 seed today in the ACC tournament. For them, they're battling Michigan for that number 1 overall seed. If they were to lose a 1-8 matchup or lose a 1-4 matchup, or, a 1-13, if the 13 in the ACC gets hot, beats the 4, whatever, that's a bad loss on their resume. And you can say, well, were they taking it seriously? Did they really care? Well, the game should still count for something. It's
a conference tournament.
It's a conference tournament. So I think there is obviously some risk for some of these top teams who can make these tournaments matter because they're playing for seeding. I think they can matter to the middle teams in the conference, and especially these bigger conferences, these power conferences, trying to play more of their teams into the field. Give those teams more opportunities to knock at the door against some of these more traditional powers and what have you. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. And then for the bottom teams, it's what we talk about, with bowls. What's a couple more practices? What's another chance to lace it up? It doesn't hurt anything necessarily to play that game. So I do think that there's still value in it up and down these conference rosters. I just hate that whoever wins it gets the automatic berth. I just think that undoes so much of the goodwill from the regular season. If this team comes out of nowhere, if they win enough good games to make it in, if they were 14-17 in the regular season, they win 5 in a row, and they knock off, 3 top 15 teams, whatever. Okay, maybe you've earned it. You've at least gotten closer. But I hate it for the 1 seeds in these non-power leagues. And I hate that we, give so many opportunities to, essentially college basketball crown qualifiers to play their way into the big dance just for getting hot for 1 week.
Hey, they're looking to extend, maybe add teams to the NCAA tournament in general. So, college basketball crown qualifiers might end up become NCAA qualifiers just because of extending the tournament. So.
But I don't like it. That's my exact point. It's like you had 31 games to prove that you were worthy of being in the field. You didn't do it. Congratulations. You got hot for a week. What? I can pat you on the back. I can give you a high five. You should feel better going to the crown or the NIT or whatever, but you don't need to get into the big dance just for getting hot.
It's a revolving door conversation with NCAA expanding and who gets what and auto bids and whatnot. It's like we can sit here till 9:00 at night, Austin, and talk about this. You'd probably do enough on corner 3 with.
Can you tell I have a hobby horse? Can you tell I have a soapbox? This well traveled. It's scuffed.
If you bring up anything around Austin for anything involving college basketball, you might be stuck in a conversation that you can't get yourself out of. But we're going to go to break here. Nebraska men leading 57-46, 11:15 to go in that one. Nebraska holding their largest lead at this moment. As always, we'll talk about Nebraska women's basketball and kind of the big picture forward to the other tournament, the NCAA tournament, which we just got done talking, kind of where they're projected and how they can kind of boost their resume throughout the Big Ten tournament and whatnot, because some people have them at 9, some is at 11 and whatnot, because if you're on the 11, you might be playing yourself into the big dance. So we'll be right back here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Concrete Industries has immediate job openings for precast production laborers and maintenance technicians. Concrete Industries offers great pay, health benefits, 401k, a wellness program, holidays, and paid time off. Apply today to earn a starting pay of $21.50 per hour plus a $1,500 hiring bonus. Concrete Industries is hiring all experience levels and offers on-the-job training. Start your career today as a precast production laborer or maintenance technician. Visit concreteindustries.com.
MWR, a local company of Lincoln, is proud to announce they are able to offer their own post-frame building packages in metal to anyone desiring a building, whether you're a contractor or a DIYer. They can install your building as always, and they offer multiple different rib profiles and loads of color options, including the wood grain metal at great competitive prices. You can inquire at mwrbuildingandfence.com or just draw your desired building and submit it in their contact us page, and they'll get back to you. Call MWR today at 402-540-8966.
Winter is just around the corner. Is your vehicle ready? Don't get left out in the cold. At A1 Automotive, we prep your car for whatever winter throws your way here in Nebraska. For battery checks, to brake inspections, tires, heaters, whatever your car needs to keep you and your family safe on the road, we've got you covered. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
You started your business to build something special. Now it's time to grow and protect it. At Pinnacle Bank, our treasury management services help you do just that. Through smarter payment technology, account administration, and fraud protection. So no matter the size of your business, you can get the most out of your financial operations. Request your free consultation at pinbank.com/consult. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT. From cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. We'll help you leverage technology to become your most secure, efficient, and profitable. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation. We can show you where you might be vulnerable, inefficient, or overspending. It's a game changer, and it's totally free. Claim yours right now at appliedconnective.com.
No one's ever explained it this way. That's what we hear at Trade-Offs when you finally see how today's crop insurance tools work with your grain marketing plan, not in isolation. With hail and wind rates increasing and margins already tight, it's time to challenge how you look at crop insurance. It's time to ask better questions. It's time to call Trade-Offs. Call us at 402-858-7501 or visit gotradeoffs.com to start the conversation. That's GOTREDAS.com. Trade-Offs, ingrained in your success. No, seriously, give us a call.
If you become ill or injured at work and need an experienced attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court, protect your rights and freedom to get you the best possible results for your case and the justice you deserve. Trust your rights and freedom to Liberty Law Group, attorneys serving Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
If you're a homeowner or a business owner, you have a lot of projects, and no one has an unlimited budget or time. Sunbelt Rentals makes all jobs less stressful with no need to purchase large equipment or hire a crew. You can do it yourself with rentals and everything from aerators and power rakes for spring yard work to stump grinders, concrete mixers, tile saws, and more. Check out their inventory in Lincoln, north of Cornhusker Highway on 56th Street, or online at sunbeltrentals.com. Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program by building a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting lincolnteammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Now back to the Husker women's basketball postgame show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome back. Postgame basketball women's edition here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. You're watching on Facebook, X, YouTube, or Outlet Channel 961. We'd love to hear the conversation as we're just wrapping up here for the women's show, but also the men's are playing right now. They are up 20. You blink real quick, Austin, and the game's out of reach. I feel like I looked up and it was Nebraska was down by 6 points. Now all of a sudden leading with 8.5 to play. So we'll be right here on 93.7 The Ticket to give you everything that Nick Sainert in sunny California. I hope it's sunny in California. I saw a picture he posted. It was sunny California. But Nebraska women capping off regular season play with a 93-52. Excuse me. I don't know why I said 62. Win over the Rutgers Scarlet Knights to finish 18-11, 7-11 overall in Big Ten play, and turn their attention to the Big Ten women's basketball tournament. But also, postseason's here. March is almost here, Austin, and Nebraska women are currently projected to make the big dance, but where that will be is kind of a little dicey. You don't know. There are multiple different outlets giving their projection on where they think Nebraska may land.
I've got CBS having Nebraska in an 8-9 matchup.
Okay.
In UConn's region. So that'd be fun if Nebraska gets through
good opportunity.
That one. But the projected 16 seed in UConn's region has been a giant killer before on the men's side. How about Fairleigh Dickinson University, the second 16 seed to take down a 1 in men's college basketball history? Their women's team projected to take on UConn up there in stores. It'd be Nebraska and Georgia, with Georgia in the 8 spot, Nebraska in the 9. You contrast that with the ESPN bracket that has Nebraska as the last team in the field. It's Princeton, Colorado, Mississippi State, and Nebraska as the teams that are the last 4 in, according to ESPN. And Charlie Cream is the guy that's putting together the women's basketball bracketology there. So, Nebraska shouldn't necessarily feel comfortable right now, which is why I think that, winning 2 games goes a long way. I don't think, like I said, winning the game that Nebraska will be favored in, or they'll be borderline in whatever that 12-13 or 10-15, 11-14, whatever it turns out to be for Nebraska. It's not going to help them, but you have to avoid the eyesore, because losing to a team that is nowhere near the NCAA tournament, even if they're just a game or 2 away from Nebraska in the Big Ten standings, finding a way to lose that game would be a problem. That's not a loss that an NCAA tournament team has on its resume. But if you're able to avoid a bad loss, if what you're able to do is, pick off that first one, find a way to pick off the second game, or maybe beyond, or at least be competitive in that one. Nick, the comparison that I think I can draw right now for this Nebraska women's team is over on the men's side, Auburn. Little bit different scenario, right? With Bruce Pearl retiring very late in the offseason. In fact, practically in the preseason, hands things over to his son, Steven. Auburn right now is a few games worse than the Nebraska women at 15-13. Similar-ish conference mark at 6-9 with 3 final conference games left to play. But think about this. That Auburn's men team has played 16 quad 1 games and 4 more in quad 2. Now, here's a little bit of the difference. Auburn is the number 10 offense in America on the men's side. Nebraska women's basketball isn't quite that high. Auburn also has 5 quad 1 wins in those 16 games, so a 5-11 mark in quad 1. They went to Gainesville and knocked off Florida. That's a better win than the Nebraska women have really at any point this year. And Auburn's also ahead of teams like Texas, Texas A&M, and Missouri in the net rankings on the men's side. But I think if you're making a case for Nebraska women's basketball to be, more safely in the tournament than the final team in, or, within the last 4, they've played a brutal schedule. it's not like they've lost all those games by one possession. Yeah, they've gotten out of hand in some cases, but Nebraska's at least been competitive for moments in those games. And again, 10 of their 11 losses would be, not just quality losses, but probably high quality losses. And I hate going to that as an argument, but I can see enough people in the committee saying, yeah, let's give Nebraska a chance. Let's see if they can handle a team in a similar position to them in the first round and earn their way, into the bracket. I do think that Nebraska's pedigree, Nebraska's recent history of being an NCAA tournament team, at least a postseason team, can carry some water as well. Not that Nebraska is a huge national brand on the women's side, but they've at least been in the postseason before. So maybe there's some goodwill, some benefit of the doubt built up in that way that could go a long way for Nebraska. But the other thing you have to worry about if you're Nebraska is bid stealers. Going back to what we just talked about in conference tournaments.
Of course.
If you're the last team in the field, it only takes one upset that you didn't plan on, that no one planned on, that shouldn't happen, and you lost your spot.
And so it only takes one, and there are multiple
every year
chances to steal. We see it all the time in college basketball. You're one of those last 4 teams in, and you're hoping, man, hopefully everything kind of falls into place, and you're not looking like, because Nebraska, let's say 3 upsets happen, or 3 teams steal bids, auto bids. Then all of a sudden, Nebraska's sitting, let's say they win a game, they win the 12-13 game, they lose that 5-seed game, and you're sitting there 19-12, and you're sitting with, 8-9 conference wins total. And then you have a couple bid stealers. Then you're sitting there at home like, did we do enough? Did we do enough? And then the resume says, oh, yeah, you've hung with some of the best teams in the Big Ten. There's, 8+ teams from this conference going to the big dance. But sorry, you might be out of luck because 3 other teams took that spot from you, and you're hello WNIT or whatnot. It's crazy how that works.
It's a similar but different situation maybe to the Nebraska baseball team, right? Where, if the Nebraska baseball team didn't win the conference tournament, it wasn't getting in. But it also couldn't really help itself much in terms of its at-large resume, where I think Nebraska women's basketball can't help itself with its at-large resume if it can pick off, a 4 or a 5 seed after winning in the opening round. So even in baseball, I know I don't necessarily love the idea of the conference tournament champion getting the bid, but that's why you have to be careful about that if you're Nebraska women's basketball, because as much as you control your own destiny by having a chance to, play some top tier opponents, if you can get on a roll early on, there's so much that's out of your control because of the way some of these games went earlier in the season. Yeah, you still have a chance to continue to play your way into the field, but it's not completely in your hands. And that's just a dangerous, dangerous way to live.
So what do you think is a successful weekend? Winning the conference tournament would be a successful weekend.
Wildly successful.
What would you define a successful weekend for Nebraska women's basketball in Indianapolis this first week of March coming up?
What I would predict would happen is that Nebraska is able to go 1-1. I think they can win their opening round matchup, and we just haven't seen Nebraska with the ability to knock off a team that's, probably in that second tier of the Big Ten. If you think that first tier is, what did we say before? Like a UCLA, Michigan, Auburn sort of tier. Nebraska, has had its moments of competitiveness, but I don't think I would pick Nebraska to knock off one of those teams. But can you get a team in that next tier? A Minnesota team you had, a chance against. An Ohio State team you didn't really play that well against. A Michigan State team that, you had every opportunity to pick up a win against. If Nebraska is able to go 2-1, I would say in Indianapolis, and knock off one of those second or third tier teams in the Big Ten, I think that's enough of a boost to the resume that, as long as you don't get completely blitzed, you compete there in your third game. Playing 3 games in 3 days is tough. We've seen the Nebraska men have to do that at times, and it does start to wear on you, which is why these deep runs from lower seeds are so rare. But I think if you're Nebraska women's basketball, get the first one, find a way in the second one, and then I think you've done enough to, not have to look over your shoulder for bid stealers across the country.
That'll be an interesting Selection Sunday, because their Selection Sunday is after the men's. Usually. It's usually at night. It's on Sunday, right? It's usually on Sunday.
Sunday evening.
Sunday evening. For some reason, I was thinking baseball where they have it on Monday on Memorial Day or whatnot. So I was thinking Monday. I was like, why would they have it on Monday? But that'll be an interesting watch party for Nebraska, because you obviously are in the situation where you're sitting on that, it's crazy that some people have them as a 9 seed, but then skip the 10 seed completely, then have them as an 11. It'll be a really interesting watch party, because I'm curious to see where they end up falling, because it's different where you look. Usually a lot of teams, you kind of know where you're going to be. Nebraska is kind of in a situation where, you can be anywhere from a 7 seed to maybe not even in the tournament, which is quite the gamble.
Well, I think about too, you go back to the men's tournament in the team in 2017-18. They went 13-5 in the Big Ten. Had I still think a legitimate case to be an NCAA tournament team, they gather for their watch party and they never see their name pop up. How deflating that could be, to a team in its psyche. Nebraska would still probably go to, some second tier postseason tournament if they don't end up making the, NCAA tournament. But man, what a crushing blow that would be after, you start the year with so much promise. You get off to a 12-0 start. Seems like there's maybe more talent in that locker room than to lead to a 6-game losing streak, even in the midst of that, gauntlet that Nebraska ended up going through. But I do think that that's maybe the next challenge, Nick, for Nebraska, is how do they find ways to creep back into that top tier of competition? Let me continue this. Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station ID, where we're talking some Nebraska women's basketball here on 93.7. The Ticket. Austin Orman and Nick Wyman are with you. 10 seconds for station ID on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Because, Nick, that's kind of been the thing that Nebraska women's basketball, at least, has been missing, really, since that, magical run there in the late 2000s and the early 2010s, is the ability to get to a second weekend, right? The ability to beat a team that maybe you're not necessarily favored against. We know Nebraska has plenty of, high-level recruits on its roster right now. We know that Nebraska, seems talented enough, or maybe more talented than it's ever been, or at least close to it in the Amy Williams era. But this team just hasn't been able to find a way to, take advantage of a matchup or find its way into an advantageous situation and actually take full advantage of it and advance beyond the first game or two in regional play, right? I think back to when I went to Corvallis, right? That was a hard-fought game between Nebraska and Texas A&M, pretty evenly matched teams. And Nebraska ended up, squeaking that one out, had a big lead, let A&M crawl back, but found a way to win it. Does Nebraska have that separator at the top of its roster? Does Nebraska have enough depth to have other players step up and make plays to the level they would take to reach a second weekend? We just haven't seen that for so long. And I'm not sure that, we'll see it right now for Nebraska. But as you start turning the page to the new season and look ahead to, what Nebraska women's basketball can grow into, any postseason reps this team can get, hopefully in the NCAA tournament in these moments, you would hope gets you, a step or two closer to finding that separator and differentiator that can take you to the second weekend.
Talking about the second weekend, we got some history here. So do you remember the last time Nebraska women's basketball made the second weekend, the Sweet 16?
Well, Amy's never done it.
Nope.
It would have been Yori. What was it, like 12, 13?
Correct.
Somewhere in there?
Correct.
Yeah.
Nebraska played Duke, funny enough, in that game in Norfolk, Virginia. And that's not to be with the Norfolk here in Nebraska. But they lost that game 45-53 to Duke. Nebraska was the 6th seed. Duke was a 3. Lindsey Moore was in that game. Jordan Hooper was still around.
I got to talk to Lindsey Moore. She was at the games in Corvallis. Had a fun chat with her.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you get Haley Sample,
Yeah.
Rachel Terrio. People remember Rachel Terrio, really good point guard. Some interesting names. I'm looking to see if there's any WNBA players. But to win that tournament, Nebraska, let's see how Nebraska had to go through this. Because Nebraska had to kind of upset. They beat Chattanooga in the first round, that one. And funny enough, in the second round, they beat Texas A&M to get past there, beat them 74-62 to get to the second weekend. It's been a while. Nebraska's been in the tournament a number of years. They have been at the state. It's not like this is the first year Nebraska women's basketball has been in, they're back in the March Madness for the first time since 2012. No, it's
right.
They've been in, if you look at Amy Williams' years, I mean, Amy Williams started, when was her first year? When was her first year?
Well, this is her 10th season.
10th season. So she's been around for a while. I mean, you look at after that 2012, 2013, they had 14, 15, 18, 22, 24. And last year, they have been in the tournament. Have they won a lot of games in the tournament? No.
Not really.
But they've been there. So you've got to think the benefit, and I don't know, the benefit of the doubt is hard to believe because it's college basketball. You never want to put it out there. But Nebraska should be in just off the resume. They have some quality wins too. They beat a team like Virginia, who is a really solid ACC school, peaking the right time. I mean, you take out that 6-game losing skid. I mean, you see a 6-game losing skid, you take away the teams, and I say, oh, a 6-game losing skid. They must be falling. The sky must be falling, and this team might not be a tournament team. You look at they play a team like Michigan, Ohio State, Maryland, and Iowa in that stretch, and a solid team in Oregon who's probably going to be in the tournament as well.
Yeah.
You take that away, you put context to it. Nebraska lost to some really good teams, and some of those games were just one quarter of basketball kind of got away from them.
Well, even you look at Washington, the team that Nebraska beat, is projected by CBS Sports to be a 7 seed and projected by ESPN to be a 7 seed. So there's a win over an NCAA tournament team that Nebraska can hang its hat on. Again, maybe not an upper echelon win, but for Nebraska, if that's what you have to hang your hat on, you can't give it back. Don't give it back at this point. You found a way to squeak it out. You found a way to beat an NCAA tournament team to end that losing skid, and that absolutely counts for something.
Yep, we're going to throw it to break one more time. We're going to do a little extended version here of the women's game. The men's game, 4 minutes to go. Nebraska with a large lead. Looks like they're going to pick up a 1 win on the West Coast. Another one is available next Tuesday, 10 o'clock Central Time start time. I get your coffee brewing or whatever you want for that one. That's a Tuesday night. Calling sick to work the next day or whatnot. But Lincoln Airport, American Airlines is back at Lincoln Airport, bringing nonstop flights from Lincoln to the Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago area starting in June 2026 with seasonal winter service to Phoenix starting in winter of 2026. Tickets are on sale now. So we'll go to break, and we will fill this final quick little segment before this game wraps up. Under 4 to play, Nebraska leading 73-75 over USC. The men's. Women picking up a 93-52 win over the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. We'll be right back here at 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate. Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Diode Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Diode Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diode Tech online at diodetech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
It's seafood season at Amigos. Time to get that one-of-a-kind, crisp crab rangoon burrito and dip it in some sweet chili sauce. There's a crab rangoon Frenchie, too. Enjoy grilled fish, grilled shrimp, or crispy fish tacos, wrapped in warm whole wheat tortillas, topped with pico de gallo, cabbage, and Amigos Chipotle mayo sauce. From jumbo shrimp baskets or fish and chips to fish tacos, there's something for everyone. You'll love the bold, fresh flavors of seafood at Amigos. Amigos is serving up a brand new way to score the bold, fresh flavors you love with 8 affordable value meals. At $5 and $6, these meals are easy on the wallet, so treat yourself anytime. Sink into the new 3-cheese melt or taco melt, both stacked with crave-worthy flavor in every bite. There's crunchy taquito dippers, too, perfect for dunking in Amigos' famous ranch or spicy cheese. Big flavor, small price. Value meals at Amigos.
It's the 2-fingered wave on a gravel road. It's letting the kids take dad's truck to prom. It's Friday nights under the lights of a hometown football field. Eustace Body Shop knows small towns. It's where our values are rooted. We treat our people right, and in turn, they treat you, our customer, right. And we give back to our communities. Not much more small town than that. Eustace Body Shop, small town service, big city technology.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks. Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas, and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating
and Electrical.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Now back to the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket. Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical. It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome back in. Austin Norman and Nick Wyman with you. We'll give you a little bit of a scoreboard update from across the Big Ten, across the Huskerverse, and across college basketball. Nick, let's go ahead and start in Huskerland here. Baseball will get this one out of the way. 15-4. Auburn responds to last night's loss in a big way. They put up 8 runs in the first 2 innings. They score 4 more in the 5th, 3 more in the 7th, and triggered the run rule. So only a 7-inning game here on Saturday. Starter Carson Yassa only went 1 inning, gave up 4 earned runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, faced 9 batters in that inning that Auburn bats around. Auburn does the same thing then in the 2nd inning. For Nebraska offensively, some highlights. Mac Moyer, 2 for 4 there at the top of the lineup. Nico Newhan had a homer and 2 runs driven in, as did Jet Buck. First homer of the year for both those guys, I believe. Josh Overbeek, 1 for 4 with a double. I mentioned this with Tristan, would have been Thursday. You know, if Nebraska could find a way to steal the game on Friday, all they have to do is split on Saturday and Sunday. You give Nebraska credit for being gritty enough, having the resolve to come back and find a way to win like they did last night over Auburn. Big response from the Tigers, setting up for a fascinating Sunday of baseball to see if Nebraska can come home taking 2 of 3 from a top 10 team in the country in SEC territory.
Yeah, and then they home opener only after Sundays on Tuesday. It sneaks up real quick. I know there's a chance for snow tomorrow, so fingers crossed. You always know those early March games are a little dicey this time of year, but split a series, get split. Win Friday, lose Saturday, but hey, you have a chance to win a series against a top 10 team who could be hosting not only a regional, but maybe a super regional and maybe making a trip to Omaha. So hang with them. A lot can happen.
The other bat and ball sport went much better for Nebraska after a heartbreaking extra innings loss to Oklahoma State. A good Friday from Nebraska softball. They parlay that into a split with Oklahoma State. Huskers 4, Cowpokes 3 in this one. Nebraska ends up scoring 2 in the 6th. I believe it was Jordy Fromm that put Nebraska ahead there in the 6th. Alexis Jensen got the start. 4 innings pitched for her, 3 hits, 3 runs. Only one of them earned 3 errors both ways for both teams. So only 1 earned run given up by Alexis Jensen, who struck out 7, walked only 1, allowed just the 1 extra base hit. Then for Nebraska as well, if my stat broadcast would load. Pretty cool moment, Nick, when you think about just the impact Nebraska softball has had kind of in the softball sphere. We know about Jordy Fromm. We know about a bunch of great players, including one Ruby Malin, who actually suffered the loss. Jordy Fromm ended up hitting the go-ahead 2 RBI swing off of former prep product in Nebraska. Ruby Malin as well. Huskers 4 runs, 9 hits, 7 left on base. For Oklahoma State, 3 runs, 4 hits, and 5 left on base. The early season gauntlet continues for Nebraska softball, but finding ways to split against some of these top teams, right? Splitting with Texas, splitting with Texas Tech, and now even though a perennial power in Oklahoma State, Nebraska softball continues just like we thought they would.
Yeah, Ruby Malin and the Kamenzen sisters, 33-0 that year with Scott in their senior year. First undefeated team in Class B state softball history to win that title.
Yeah.
Then that game, they played Hastings. They were up 11-0 after 1 inning. So both Kamenzen sisters hit a home run in that inning too. So that is quite the team you had there. But there's only about 30 seconds left in the men's game. Nebraska up 82-67. Price Sanford, we'll talk about him and a lot of other things here in a little bit. So
we sure will. Just run down the Big Ten men's basketball scoreboard real quick. Nebraska men are going to avoid a weird result in a day full of them. Penn State knocks off Iowa at home. Northwestern wins on a buzzer beater over Oregon. And Minnesota actually came back from a 1-point halftime deficit to knock off Nebraska's next opponent, UCLA. Nebraska men's basketball postgame comes your way next. He's Nick Wyman. I'm Austin Norman. Get your thoughts in 402-464-5685. Talking Nebraska ball for the next hour or so here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Fans, are you craving the ultimate game day experience? Red Zone Sports Bar and Grill has your front row seat to all the action. Dive into delicious wings, juicy burgers, and ice-cold drinks, all served up with TVs covering every inch of the wall, so you'll never miss a play. Rally your crew, cheer on your team, and take advantage of game night specials every week. Stop in for a Nebraska basketball game with a party of 4 or more and receive a free pitcher of beer. Red Zone Sports Bar and Grill, right by the Lincoln Airport.